Adventure and Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
This is for all my friends that I left long gone. Said I might come back again. It's a pattern my friends will be gone.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm here with our next guest, who are some badass musicians and probably have some cool stories because we were talking before the interview. And so let's welcome to the show, Gigantum. How are you?
Yay!
So, tell us about Gigantum. But if you were to if somebody said, tell me about your band, what would the first thing that came to your head be?
Loud and heavy, big.
Nice.
But I say it with a little bit more like emphasis. Be like, we're loud, we're heavy, we're so big.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
And how about you guys? What's the first thing that comes to your guys' heads?
I would say like the band musically, it's just a like melting pot of genres, all this stuff that we love listening to, just mixed up together, and what comes out seems to work pretty well for us. So hopefully it does for everyone else too. See,
and I love that, by the way, because we were talking before the show about the old days where there were so many gatekeepers and there were so little metalheads and so many gatekeepers, and it was just stupid, okay? You had the metals and the punks on different sides, and that was always, I thought, stupid because we were both getting our asses beat by the jocks in school. We should have teamed up together instead of being against each other. And, like, I just think nowadays, if you're not blending genres, then the music isn't authentic nowadays because we all have all these influences, and it seems like metal in particular bands like follow this algebraic equation nowadays, and that wasn't what metal was about ever. That's not what rock is about. It should be just, a blend of whatever you like. Nobody has to like one specific thing. And then you come up with something that's unique, and that is you guys.
Yeah, you add your own little spice to what you've like put together, and then that becomes yours. And that's like most music, you're building on everything what's come before.
Exactly.
With few exceptions, new kind of music. Well, I mean, what's that like? Show me what that is. But I agree with you.
And you're right. It is all built on what started before. Like everything has built from that. And it's funny, in my lifetime, I've experienced that escalation because some of the music you have now, you wouldn't have anything close to that when I was a kid, So it's like, what we considered heavy was not probably heavy by today's standards. And so it progresses.
Black Sabbath, I think, is super heavy, still heavy,
Yes. Totally.
So I think it just depends on how the heavy was created. Like, is it heavy because of the riff and the tempo, or is it heavy because of the type of pedal you're using, or why is it heavy? Like, is it because it's drop D? Like, what makes it heavy?
You know what's interesting is that you brought up Black Sabbath, which I think any metalhead could agree is heavy. Okay.
Yes.
However, one of my interviews made the news recently.
What?
Yes.
Let's make the news. What should we say?
Okay. Well, see, you brought up Sabbath, and basically it was
the devil.
It was Carmine Apiece.
Oh, Carmine,
and he said that Sabbath was not metal, and that's what made the news.
Well, maybe he's just jealous because Vinny played in that.
You could argue about that all day.
They were brothers fighting. Don't listen to that.
Right?
Well, it's all blues. Okay, yeah, it's all blues, but it's an attitude and heavy. And just to take it over, but just to say, heavy comes in all different forms, sizes, shapes, sounds, slow, fast, whatever. Heavy, for me, like a song could be, there's heavy music all over the place that has nothing to do with metal.
Right.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
mentioned blues. Blues can be pretty heavy at times, you know?
Heavy. It's where all this stuff came from, in my estimation. So,
In your estimation.
yes.
So Blair, what's the first thing that comes to your head when it comes to Gigantum?
Well, one of the first things that comes to my head is fuzz, because I love the sound that we get, and everyone has their own particular sound, and it just works together really well. And as far as Sabbath goes, I think the thing with Sabbath is they actually started something that wasn't really being done at the time, and it was heavier in a lot of ways, but it was also, they really blended like a whole bunch of like different styles, different scales, different, they kind of went dark a little bit and how they did music. And it wasn't really happening like that back then. So they were kind of the first ones, and at least the ones that were taking the stage, that really, really made it like famous, so to speak. So I can kind of see how metal kind of got from that, and why they're kind of considered the beginning of metal. But if we look to metal today, I mean, they're definitely not metal, but they were really kind of one of the first people that really got it out there.
We'll talk about Judas Priest and Maiden. If you want to keep going down that road, but
and see, that's the road I went
they
down.
were dark in the Judas Priest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just went places in their music that other people weren't necessarily. I mean, the psychedelic really took their music places, but they put it more in rock terms than in the psychedelic terms. So that's what I think.
And, it is funny because we mentioned these different bands, and that was basically the stages that I went through in my life. It was like, for me, it was first Kiss, because my first album I ever owned, I won it at Seaside Heights at the Boardwalk because these cool looking characters on the album. And that was the first Kiss album. And then I actually got into the Beatles. And then that led me to Sabbath. And Sabbath led me to Zeppelin. And Zeppelin led me to Ozzy. And then Ozzy led me to, like we were talking about before the interview, like the LA club scene, like Motley Crue before they were glam, and then Slayer and Metallica. And then, and that
right.
I went through that whole every phase of metal type of thing.
I think that today, because there is such a like overlapping genre in bands and stuff, I think part of that came from rock wasn't doing so well for a while there, because it was like disco was happening, and then rap came, and it was like, I remember with the Grammys and stuff, it was just like there was no rock bands anymore being presented, and it was like, what the fuck is happening with rock? And so I think people like, behind the scenes started to talk to each other more, and things, and other things came out, which kind of, it's because of that we're here talking about it. It's like we haven't died out and we're not going anywhere, but it was a little tough there for a while.
It's kind of doing that now too. Like hip hop is like really prevalent. It's really hard to have other stuff on the top 20, I feel like.
Yeah, we have our own top 20, but we're huge. I mean, you go to festivals now, and Mark goes to festivals all the time, everywhere. He's
always missing practice for a festival
of bands, and it's amazing that there are so many bands out there now. I mean, it's pretty incredible. There's so many bands, there's labels, and it's a big resurgence, and it's like a lot of good stuff is happening.
It's funny because you mentioned the festivals, because I too, like I go on tour and I do radio coverage at like all the Danny Wimmer festivals in the States, plus a bunch of others. I go over to UK, Europe, and it does blow my mind that I'll be at a festival and there's like 100,000 metalheads there. The idea of that just blows my mind. And it, it did die. You know, if you took metal as an example, grunge kind of killed it for a while. I think hair metal is really what killed it. That's what allowed
Kill
grunge to
themselves.
kill
Yeah.
it, you know?
Yeah.
But then it came back, and it even seems now, even post-COVID, that it's even bigger than ever. And I think part of that is because we need that kind of voice that is in rock and roll, you know, like any part of rock and roll. And, you know, I think that rock is the great uniter, and we're in such a polarized world that we
True.
need that great uniter.
I vote for you, Pipeman.
You know what's funny is I do have a campaign on my show where I run for president. But every time, so 2016, I actually had 4 of my listeners vote for me.
Wow.
Because hey, listen, we don't have any choices anymore. So
I would only just add that you know, if you've been to any of the big European festivals, they've been flying that flag strong. Even when it was kind of dead in the United States, it was going strong in Europe. So, you know.
Well, what I love too about the European festivals, like I just did coverage for Grass Pop, and I was watching Machine Head and Deep Purple in the same day.
Whoa.
You know, like, I mean, come on. And that's the way they do it great, which we're learning over here now of, again, blending genres. It's not just one thing. Hellfest has a different stage for every genre. It's kind of wild. It's like, okay, if you're into death metal, go to this stage. If you're into hardcore, go to this stage. If you're into just, you know, rock and roll, go to this stage. And we definitely are starting to learn here in the U.S. because you're right. Europe has always flown that flag, and they're so into it. Like bands that I thought were gone since the 80s haven't been gone. They've just been in Europe all this time.
Yeah, and going strong in Europe.
It's wild,
Yeah.
You know?
Well, get us over there.
Monster Magnet comes to mind. Like they didn't come to the United States for like 20 years.
Right?
And they're like, they had everything they needed in Europe.
Exactly. So yeah, you have to get over there.
Okay.
Do you guys have any festivals you have your eye on playing here?
We want to play all the festivals.
Yeah. Anything, anywhere.
Well, put that out there because we need to get you I'm doing Rocklahoma in a couple weeks. That's a fun festival.
If you have some pull us over there in Oklahoma.
Well, we'll have to. Late for Rocklahoma this year, maybe next year, but let's definitely get you into some festivals.
Yeah,
because you guys do rock, and I think everybody's got to check out your music and see why you should be at these festivals.
And we could be at all different stages because we have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, so we can fit everywhere. We can do
stage, we can own that.
Yeah.
That's what I dig about you guys.
You can just pimp us out.
Yeah,
there you go.
Out, Pipeman.
And that's what I dig about you guys is that you could fit on any stage. Like I said before, even like I'm a hardcore thrash metalhead, but I love all kinds of genres. You know, that's what people don't get. You don't have to. Lover. Yeah, you don't have to love one genre. It's like it's even funny. There's this place tomorrow night near me that every week they have a live Latin band. I'm like, I go because it's a lot of fun. You know, live. I think that's where we made the mistake during the lockdown. That's why people got so pissed off. We didn't have live music because, listen, live music, there's nothing better. And it's the great uniter for sure.
That's true. Very true.
So, and you guys, speaking of live music, you guys have a show coming up on the 7th.
Yep, our record release. We're so excited. So we're really happy that our EP is finally coming out. Nice.
So, what do you have in store for that record release show and party?
We have tacos because this is LA.
Yeah, right.
We have drinks, and we have little URL postcards that you can buy the album with, and you have us playing the music.
We got stickers and shirts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we have merch.
We're gonna play our record for you, and
it's
gonna be a blast.
Nice. And definitely people have to get your merch because that's the only way a band survives nowadays It's not like the old days. There's no record label giving you a fat check or anything like that, where you could party it.
Well,
You got to
let's
work
get a
hard.
fat check. Give
Yeah,
us a fat check, everybody.
Fat check for your merch.
Yeah.
If you want to get in debt, yeah, sure.
How do people reach out to you to, check out the band, connect on socials, buy your merch, tour dates, all
Gigantum
that stuff?
Band. You can find us on Gigantum Band on everything.
Nice.
Name something, we're on there.
So,
Blair, do you have anything you want to say?
I'm good right now.
Okay.
You guys are doing a great job.
nice. Are there any other things we want to tell the listeners that we have not covered yet that they need to know?
Well, you put us on the spot.
Ooh, look at that. I stumped you.
Yeah. Well, working
You
on
did.
new music. So we're excited to be recording again and, doing stuff again. So get this music so then you can be ready for our next batch.
Nice. And you guys definitely are badass, so everybody has to check you out. And,
Thank you.
we'll have to, everybody's got to show up. Where is that record release show and party?
Burbank. It's at Nightingale's, the famous Nightingale's rehearsal studios. They have like a
Nice.
thing once a month, and it's just like a hangout and a fun time. So I thought that would be cool for us to do our release there.
Okay, so
On
the
our-
whole world has to show up now.
September
The whole
7th.
world. Yes. And
2024.
our single came out today for all my friends.
Ooh.
That's cool. Did you listen to it? I see you have the artwork behind you.
Absolutely. It's pretty. I love the artwork too. It's pretty
Thank
cool.
you.
I'm totally into artwork too, being old school. I was talking about this earlier. We bought albums by looking at the artwork. You had no clue what the band sounded like.
Yeah. They say not
Yeah.
to judge a book by the cover, but that's how we used to do things.
Back in the day, I discovered great stuff just based on the cover. I just, take your entire records, you just take a shot.
Yeah.
No doubt. I used to get that.
Examples, but I just still have these records, and was just like so glad I took a chance on these things.
Yeah, and I used to get BAM magazine so I could see who looked coolest, what show I could go to.
So I liked Rip with Rip magazine, and there was this one journalist, Lon M. Friend, and I would just read anything that he wrote about, that journalist. Like, we had the same musical taste. I would buy everything that he would say, and I would always be happy.
So I used to go to this record store in the Valley, Oz Records, and there was this record clerk there who, when me and any of my teenage friends would come by, he would recommend albums to us. It's like, here, check this out. My first Venom album he handed to me.
Oh, I think that's how everyone got their first Venom album.
Right. And that's Brian Slagle, the owner of Metal Blade Records. He was
Awesome.
He was so
That's
brilliant.
badass.
He was so brilliant. He started his record label while he was working as a record store clerk.
That's so
That
cool.
dude had his finger on the
Awesome.
pulse. That dude really had it. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, no doubt.
Obviously, it's easy to say that now, but just look at all the stuff that was on all the amazing bands that were on his label.
Oh,
Amazing.
anybody that came out of LA back in the 80s were on his label.
Yeah.
Anybody. It didn't matter who it was. And I told him years later, I'm like, man, that was a brilliant marketing plan. He's like, I was just a record store clerk. Like, it wasn't even like, he was very humble about it. It wasn't like some brilliant plan. It just worked out.
And there was also a whole lot, like the whole tape trading thing was happening back then. There was just a lot of underground, a lot of traffic in the underground. So if you had your ear to that a little bit, you got hooked up with some really great stuff.
No doubt. I still have the Metallica demo that from tape trading that you can't even tell what it says on it because it was like recorded over like 50 times. You have no clue it's Metallica if you listen to
Spliced 400 times.
So yeah, that's what we got to bring that back. You guys can start a new tape trading thing.
I was actually
let's do
thinking
it.
about that recently about mail order, like a fan club, like mail order, send self-addressed stamped envelope for stuff.
Yeah.
Remember you used to be able to do that with bands.
Yeah.
And just to do like it's too whole like, online stuff too easy. Send mail.
Yeah.
Message Mark Luntzel for Gigantum.
I'm thinking about starting that up. And what do you think about that?
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's great. I love it. It's like back in the day we had those
You got
little
yourself a job.
handmade newspapers for the tape trading. Like that's how you.
The fanzines.
It would be like send to this PO box.
Yeah, I used to do that. If I moved to a new place, first thing I did was I looked for the local music mag and like signed up for shit and did all that.
I think a lot of people don't get this part of it. What we're talking about, like they don't
because we're seniors.
Maybe that might be it, but it's like the people that say to me, "I used to like metal." I'm like, "Oh, well, you probably never did." If you used to, like, come on. But yeah, everybody's got to check out For All My Friends and
Thank you.
And check out your party.
Yay!
And let's see you at some festivals next year.
Help us out, Pipeman.
Let's do it.
And I'll vote for you.
Pipeman Radio.
Vote for Pipeman for Prez.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Love it.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the
Pipeman.
Adventures of Pipeman.
Yay! Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.